All right, welcome everybody to Forging Brains podcast. Today we have a special guest, Daniel Jones. Daniel's from Fairhope, Alabama, and he's a pretty known guy all around in our community. He's done a bunch of clinics all over the place, and also he's just won Best Shod Foot at Stoneleigh. Pretty big accomplishment especially for an American. Welcome, Daniel. Thanks for joining us, taking the time.
Yeah, thank y'all guys for having me. The best shot that was a pretty big one. I was glad to get that one brought back over here. We just got back from Fort Worth last Sunday and did the WCB finals out there. So it was a pretty good week. It's been kind of busy here the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I was just thinking you've had a busy year, between the AFT and then going to the WCBs as well, right?
Right, yeah, I finished, made the team with Bodie and Money and Tom and then Sawyer, and then finished up 5th in the WCB. So, yeah, it's been pretty busy. I've had a good year.
Dude, that's a really good year.
Yeah, a whipping year right there. But it doesn't come easy though either, huh? Because you haven't been home very many days, and we kind of had to do this podcast when it worked out because you're leaving again in the morning. It sounded like for another practice.
Yeah, that's when you texted, I thought I was in trouble because I was out there tuning tools and stuff to get on the airplane in the morning. I was like, oh, shit. You said 7 now.
But, that was our fuck up.
Nah, it's fine. It's good. I'm home alone. The girls just left, headed over to WEC in Ocala, so they'll be over there the rest of the week. So it's me and the dogs tonight, so it's pretty nice.
Oh, man. So is your household's just pretty busy all the time, huh?
Yeah, we between me and Allison, whether we're gone together or separate, we're probably gone 40-something weekends out of the year.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, guys are like, hey, can we come over on a weekend? I'm like, if you can find one, I'm happy to have you. That's Monday through Wednesday, or we're back on the airplane or driving.
Yeah.
So what does Allison do?
So she does. She's the farm's a boarding facility, and she's a trainer for English, like mainly 3-day eventers, but they do a lot of hunter jumpers. So they're headed over there to WEC with 5 head, but I think she's boarding. I think there's 30-something head of horses out there. So she's got a big business.
That's awesome.
Do you have to shoe a lot of them horses, or
every one of them? That's every Tuesday I'm here. So between
that's your
the
house
lesson
then,
horse,
basically.
The
right?
lesson horses are good because we put whatever we want on those. They might be doing cross rails with bevels on at this point,
That's perfect.
Wow.
So how busy of a practice do you have in general then?
Not really too bad. It's probably 60%, 70% trimming down here on the coast. So I cover probably 300 head of horses, but most of them are trimming. So I probably don't have 50, 60 head of horses shot all the way around. So,
perfect.
It's pretty nice. I try to not shoe more than a couple horses, two to 4 horses a day if I can help it. And then we might trim 20 or 30. But
in a day?
Mm-hmm.
Trim 20 or 30?
Well, but down here we trim them every 4 weeks, and it's wet. We're tropical weather, so you're just wire brushing the bottom of their feet. It's not like where y'all live.
Yeah.
It's not.
We're super wet here, but different. I think like you guys got that sand and everything.
Right, you got a lot of beach sand. 'Cause, I'm 3/4 of a mile to the west is Mobile Bay, and then 10 miles south is the Gulf of Mexico. So it's just beach sand down here mainly.
So do you even have to whip out the rasp at all for that? Or
no, you just round them up with the salt fine side of it a lot of times.
That's easy money.
So that's all you're doing when you're trimming every 4 weeks. You're just like doing a little gather,
making money.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, we don't do that. And the horses you have shod, the downside to it is like the horses we shoe. In 4 weeks, the feet will pancake out. They'll just they're so soft they won't hold the weight, so they flatten out, and so your clinches are popped. So you have to go reshoe them. So basically, you pop it off, wire brush it, level a little bit, and burn it back on.
I'd say that's pretty cool that you know that, or you understand that, because we've been getting kind of some flack that you guys only talk to competition guys and they don't know anything about shoeing horses. Like, you just completely said, you're doing what you have to do to keep them horses shod and, keep them.
I'd love to have horses on a 6-week schedule, but it just doesn't work out that way. And, and I hear that too. Everybody's like, oh, the competition farriers versus your everyday farriers.
Yeah.
It always pisses me off, because if you look at any of your top clinicians or the guys that people hear on podcasts or read their books or that teach, that everybody flocks to for advice and stuff, they're all competition farriers. They're all top competition farriers, whether it's Steven, Grant, Craig, Money. I mean, you can go on. Pethick, Andrew, all of them are, at some point, a lot of them have been on international teams.
Yeah.
So that's just people just wanting to have an excuse for not doing the work to get better.
It's usually kind of how I've thought about it too.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. They just everybody's always looking for an excuse of like why what they're doing is okay and why it's okay to take the easier route, whether they want to accept that's the easier route or not. That like competing and foraging is one of the harder parts of horseshoeing. Like it is fucking really hard. That's why, like you're saying, like those guys that are all top hands, they've all competed or something like that. It's just a reason. Those guys like to just run their mouth for no reason. Like, it drives me crazy.
I love it too, because the big one I get all the time, Allison gets it too, because she competes a lot too. But we both hear it's like, oh well, I would, but I have kids.
Yeah.
Or I have this. We have 4 kids, 2 dogs, 38 head of horses we tend to, and we go as probably as much as anybody wants to go.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the one funny thing I think is like they all want, like, you'll get the complaint, like we've gotten the complaint right for our podcast, is like, you guys are talking to guys, I want to hear from guys shoeing winners, and it's like for some reason you want to shoe the horses that are competing, but you don't want to listen to the guys that are competing. Like, isn't that kind of fucking weird? Like, you want to shoe these horses because they're winners at competitions. That's what we're trying to. Like, that's the whole reason to compete as a horseshoer. Like, it's such a weird, like, shift in the head. I don't know.
And there's a lot to be said for those guys that keep the top Olympic jumpers and stuff going down the road. Those are some talented guys. But there's been a lot of really damn good horses that's made a lot of shitty horseshoers really famous.
Yeah.
For sure. I've done some heinous stuff to some horses that they just kept going. When I was learning, I learn every day, but there's not a day you don't learn something. But there's just, horses are forgiving. Those son of a guns, they help you out a lot.
How long have you been shoeing horses, Daniel?
I went to horseshoeing school in '96, and then I kind of started riding with my brother and Kenny Nelson when I was around 9 or 10. So I had nailed shoes on when I went to horseshoeing school at 16.
Wow.
So I've been doing
Oh, man. Where did you go to horseshoeing school at?
Tom McNew has Lookout Mountain School of Horseshoeing. It's in Gadsden, Alabama. So it was about 2.5 hours north of the house. So I got out of school in May and went up there for 3 months and then came back down for the next year's school.
So you went to horseshoeing school then in between years of high school?
Yeah. So I turned 16 in 10th grade, so that was between my sophomore and junior year.
Did you finish high school? Even though you were just going to be a horseshoer?
I've even been to college.
Shit, man, I don't know if I would have finished high school if I would have, like, I'm a horseshoer now. I don't
starting to make some money.
I don't need your schooling.
Well, see, back then they had, I don't know if they still do it, they had co-op. Like, it's what it was called. It was co-op. Yeah. So you went to school. So I only had, I had real good grades, too. A's and B's. So, I went to school and got out by 11, 12 and shot horses. I made more money than the teachers at the school, and they knew it because I'd tell them. Look what I just made is everything.
Coming in with your high-dollar car, yeah.
Old beat-up Dodge truck. Looks like Riley's old truck.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I had a full. I graduated in '99, and I had a full ride out to Odessa, Texas, and West Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Rodeoed for them for 3 years.
I actually almost went to college there myself.
Really?
Yeah.
Old Jim
Yeah, I went
Watkins.
checked it out for going down there to rodeo too, but ended up not going.
Well, it's a fun day. It's fun. It's Odessa's. I mean, I can say I did it, but I wouldn't live there.
Yeah, we had a good time when we went out there and checked it out.
Yeah, steer wrestling.
Oh man.
Yeah,
I could see it.
Yeah, my brother was a steer wrestler. I mean, usually my brother is 5 years older than me, and I don't know. I just always tagged along behind him. We grew up out in the middle of nowhere, and so there wasn't really much to do. So,
but you guys got along, obviously.
Oh no, he would just beat the shit out of me. He hated having me tag along all the time.
Oh no shit!
He's a big son of a gun too. So I mean, just take a licking and keep going.
Yeah, but it probably helped you out a little bit with the bulldogging, huh?
Oh yeah. I mean, he never took it easy on me at all. I mean, I'm not real strong, and I'm not like a good fighter or nothing. But I mean, I can take a beat, and I'll just keep aggravating it till I get it done.
Well, you chose a good trade then. Like, keep running down.
Yeah.
So what did you study while you were in college?
Just business there. I thought about going to vet school, and I thought about going to medical school, and I had the grades. I could have done it. I had a scholarship up to Rutgers University in their medical program, but I didn't. I've always enjoyed shoeing horses or working cows. I worked ranching and stuff some. So it's just kind of, I knew what I wanted to be when I was young, and that's what I've done.
When you were in college, were you like shoeing horses on the side as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd get up every morning and go shoe horses. I picked up some businesses and shot horses. I did all of the rodeo team. And then you went to class for a few hours, and then you'd have practice, and then I did a lot of night classes and stuff.
Yeah.
Man, sounds pretty good. So from there, did you just go home after college, or did you?
No, I rodeoed out there, We pro rodeoed and college rodeoed, and then a friend of mine lived in Caldwell, Idaho. And they had a big farm up there that had a feedlot and stuff, and I just wanted to go try it or see the area, so I lived up there for a year. And they said it was going to snow, so I made it through the summer. We did all the harvest and all this, and then they said it was going to snow. And then so I woke up that morning, I walked out, and you could not see a four-door crew cab dually. And so I called Mr. Steve on the phone, and I said, Mr. Steve, I thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it, but as soon as I get this damn truck out of here, I'm going home. And I did. By nightfall, I was southbound.
No shit.
I hate the snow. Hate it.
So long, Idaho.
Yeah, Idaho was fun, and it's beautiful up there. You know, Moscow, Idaho is where that college is. We'd go up there for the weekends and stuff, and I mean, it was a blast. And it's beautiful up there on that Snake River, but if only in the springtime. Only in the springtime.
Even in the springtime, the snake can be pretty wicked. Like, I go on bear hunts up there, and it's pretty nasty. That's why I was wondering when you said you went to Caldwell. Like, that is a vast difference from Odessa. Like, Odessa will get a little cold, but not.
Yeah, they get a little ice and stuff. But yeah, no, that was the only time I've ever lived somewhere that it snowed, like proper snow.
Yeah,
and I've moved out of that thing within 48 hours.
Were you shoeing horses there?
Very little. We rodeoed a lot, and I was working on that farm. It was a huge. I think the name of it was Noble Farm, and I did a few of the feedlot horses, but mainly I just ran equipment and stuff like that.
So from Caldwell, then you go back all the way to Alabama?
Yes. Drove all the way back down to Alabama, and I've lived here ever since. So that was in like that was 04, 05, somewhere in there.
I see. And then, so did you basically move back here and immediately like pick up into like trying to start a business? And
I moved right back in. and worked with other farriers and started. Some of my old clients picked me right back up and stuff like that. So that was in central Alabama, in Titus, which is the little town I was actually raised in. And so I worked around Montgomery and stuff, and then I left there. I've only lived here on the coast since about 2011, 2010, 11.
And was it kind of like a mix of, I don't know, like you said you shoot a lot of like dressage, 3-day eventers, and jumpers now, so basically sport horses. Was it pretty much like that kind of horses like when you were getting started, or was it kind of just
no, trail horses, rope horses, rodeo horses, just not. In fact, not. And Billy Lewis. So I didn't start forging until 06. So I cold shod for like 10 years.
That's what I was going to ask.
That's just all I knew how to do. Was, I mean, St. Croix light rims made me a lot of money. I mean, you can knock them if you want to, but I've put a bunch of them on. but so that's kind of when I've learned about the AFA and certification and stuff, and met Russell Colvin, and then it's just kind of been forging and competing, and forging is kind of what took the place of rodeo and stuff, because I've competed at something all my life doing stuff.
Mm-hmm. I know the feeling.
Was your brother still shoeing horses?
Mm-hmm.
Is he still today?
If you force him to, he probably will. I think he's got a home builder's license. He's big. My father was a big foreman on construction and stuff. So I mean, we were taught a trade every summer when we were kids. You had to go do something, whether it be framing or roofing or concrete or plumbing, electrical. And so he took to that a lot more than I did. Like, I enjoy it for a little bit, but then I get bored with it. So now he trims a little bit, he builds houses, and just chills out, really.
Was your dad shoeing any horses or anything?
No.
How did your brother get into doing it?
So the family's kind of weird, because my dad was 55 when I was born.
Okay.
So he was born in 1926. He was born in South Mississippi on the coast, and fought in the Second World War. And then I've got 2 half brothers. So he had 2 boys with 1 woman, and then he had me and my brother with mama. And so my oldest brother, Will, is 70. I think he's 76. 75,
your oldest
76.
Brother.
My oldest of the 4 boys is 70-something years old. Then the second one is 70. Will must be 76, and Brian or Bubba is 74. And then my full brother is 47, and I'm 42. So there's 30-something years in there. So when I was little, Dad was kind of retired and stuff. So me and him just worked in his wood shop all the time and stuff. But he wouldn't let us have horses. When we got horses, when we could pay for them.
Yeah.
Really?
So
that's why I don't want horses, because I got to pay for them.
Yeah, me too.
Was it like a big drive? Like you just wanted horses bad?
Yeah. I mean, like, so our neighbor up on the lake is Kenny, was our neighbor. And he was like family. He's known me since I was born. So there's not much to do besides go hunting or fishing when you live up in the woods on the lake. So he would go to town to shoe horses, and I would hear about horses. So I just wanted to see him one day. So when I was little, he took me, because he had a couple old horses in his boarded. And so I went to see these old geldings, and they let me pet them and stuff, and I just liked them. So I would go with him to feed his horses on the weekends or something. And then after that, it was like we stopped to trim a horse, and I thought that was neat. And then my brother would go, and so it's just kind of keep.
So that's who your brother started shoeing from, probably right away.
Cam started at 18. He started with Kenny, and then the bring up factor, I just wanted to go, so I just happened to go at 16.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So that's even cooler that you guys did Kenny rodeo at all?
No, he grew up right here on Orange Beach, and he was long hair. He liked to scuba dive and surf and fish, and he was like a marine biologist.
Kenny fits that. That's a Kenny thing to do.
Yeah, Kenny was, he would do sailing regattas out of the Gulf down here. So I mean, that's so.
Kenny maybe should have lived in Oregon.
Yeah, he would have got along in Oregon. Bigger than shit. He would have loved it.
That's funny. So like, I'm just funny. It's like, because going from a kid that didn't have horses, so you got horses, and now all of a sudden you're jumping on steers.
Yeah.
That takes.
Well, I was gonna be a bull rider, right?
Okay.
Yeah. You got to be a bull rider.
Yeah.
So my brother actually at 18. So there was a bullfighter named Sid McKissick. He rode. I think he fought at the NFR and some stuff like that. And he lived in our town. And so he was buddies with us. So my brother tried it, and he rode some. And then he was up at a little jackpot deal, and he got slung down, and the bull stepped on him and put his right eye out.
Oh, man.
So it just crushed the whole side of his face.
Yeah.
And so then, of course, I was never going to be allowed to get on one because Mama was pissed and stuff like that.
Lose your eye.
Yeah, you'll put your eye out. So my brother took me to this little pen that had some big roping steers, and they flanked them out, and I got on 5 roping steers. I got stepped on 6 times. I was like, I don't really think that's fun.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you're supposed to let go and jump off, but like I just wouldn't let go, so I'd go right up under them and get stomped under. So then the steer
turns out this getting stepped on thing is very real.
Yeah. Well, because a hazing horse stepped on me, so all this is titanium here. So
oh shit!
Mama was say it's not.
I was thinking at least you're not riding bulls, but like riding bulls has a potential to be safer than like every time steer wrestling. Like the whole goal is to cause a wreck.
It's gonna be a wreck every time.
It's tripping. Like it's not. Like
it's a controlled accident's what it is.
Oh yeah, man. Like it's not very very great. So did your mom not watch you jump on steers for like a little while?
No, I think my dad watched me one time at the high school finals, and then Mama, I think she came to that one, and then she flew when I made the collegiate regional finals out in Hobbs, New Mexico. Her dad had passed away, but Mom and my brother flew out to that. That's about it. Now Cam, me and him would rodeo together and stuff like that some, but no, the parents they didn't wasn't their thing.
Yeah, it's funny how that's like changed. Because when I was high school rodeo, it was like kind of a transfer time of like half the kids were there by themselves, and half of them like parents were so involved. But it's like it used to be even more so that there really wasn't parents involved. It was just a bunch of kids going and rodeoing, just hanging out.
Yeah, I mean, like at 16, I mean, we sound like old people, but it's like it was a lot different back then. But it really was. Like at 16, my dad was so old. I mean, me and my brother were told basically, there's nothing you can do that I haven't done once or twice and probably been arrested for. Just don't call me if you go to jail. And that was the talk we had. Outside of that, you got to do whatever the hell you want to. We didn't have curfews. The only rule in the house was wherever you were going to spend the night, you had to call Mom and let her know. Now, you could call at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. You just had to call the house. If not, Dad was going to probably whip your ass when you got home. Other than that, there was no rules.
Yeah, that's pretty easy going.
Yeah. So at 16, me and my buddy JD, the summer I turned 16, we just left right after school. We went to Oklahoma and Texas and all this stuff, just driving around. We'd have to call home and get Dad to talk to the desk guy at a hotel so he would let us stay in a room. Like we had money, but we were so young, he wouldn't let us. So Dad would be like, don't make me come out there. These boys, if they do anything wrong, you let me know and I'll whip their ass. So,
and now
I wouldn't let my 16-year-old go out west by himself. I mean,
crazy world nowadays.
Yeah,
a lot of weird people doing weird shit.
Yeah,
but we didn't even have cell phones at that point. I remember getting the first bag phone and all that stuff. So I mean, back then you had to go to a gas station or a pay phone to call home and stuff like that.
We don't even call home to have a map.
Well, it's called an atlas.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like
Google machine.
You guys are driving around with an atlas compared to like right now. Like I have 2 19-year-old nephews, and they probably can't find their way to the grocery store without their iPhone. Like,
it's sad.
I've got so lazy with it that I just punch it in that. If Google can't get me there, I'm probably not going. I mean, I can remember how to get to a lot of places, but I'm spoiled with that thing. That's the best thing that iPhone has done as a horseshoer to be able to just punch in an address and go. Instead of go to the third White Baptist church by the second pine tree down a county road that's blocked. Some teenage kid, we done stole all the signs, so there's no signs.
Just can't get there. That's something I've actually like thought about and wondered a lot about. Is like, I'm old enough now that I grew up in the time of cell phones, so running a business now with a cell phone has been easy. With the Google machine, like say for you running with the Atlas and no cell phones, like how did guys do it? Like, I'm running late, or I blew a tire today, I can't make it, and like the ladies like wondering like, well, where's my horseshoer at? But you don't got a cell phone to call, or say you don't find the place because you're having a hard time reading the map. I don't know, something like that.
Back then, to me, it's made me lazy. I mean, because I can text you and be like, I'm running late, so it's not that big a deal. Back then, you didn't run late. I mean, if you ran late, you either used the barn phone. Most barns had a telephone.
Okay.
A lot of them, or their house. You would just ask to borrow their phone, and they'd bring their little portable phone, had this long antenna out to the porch, so you didn't have to go in their house. Yeah. And you could call. You had a black book, had all the numbers. You just called and said, hey, I'm 20 minutes late or whatever. But on Sunday night, you would listen to your answering machine, and you had all your notes. Sunday night, you set up the whole week, Monday through Friday, down to the times and everything. But I don't think we would pack in. I don't remember trying to pack in as much in a day as I do now, because you knew to leave yourself a little slack in there. Yeah. Whereas now, you can kind of run on the ragged edge because you can move people during the day by minutes or an hour here or 30. You just pack in. Back then, you would go hit one or two stops and you'd be done. Yeah.
Just so you didn't have to run into that issue, basically.
Right. There wasn't much of an issue.
I never even put that together. But when I first started, I rode with quite a bit of guys, and one old guy I rode with, he would refuse to have a cell phone. He just had a landline and stuff. And that guy would. The days with him were pretty laid back. We were gonna park. We were gonna hit a gas stations a couple times and park there and wait for the next appointment and stuff. It was we were always early. It was, I never even thought about that, but it was a different tone.
Yeah, it was just more low key. Kenny was like that. I remember sitting there as a kid listening to. When you got home, you would go over to see Kenny to hear about the day or whatever, or just to hang out, go fishing or something. And you'd have to wait for a minute, and you just had the answer machine. You had a little old notepad, and you sat there and listened to all of them. And then if you had to call anybody back that night, you did it right then, and that was it.
It's crazy, though. It's funny, the cell phone probably changed that, too, of going to Kenny's house. That's why you went to Kenny's, because you couldn't just text him.
Oh, no. Well, you wasn't going to text Kenny till the day he died, because he didn't text you. He would call you. Kenny was, I'm not tech savvy, but Kenny really wasn't tech savvy. I mean, he'd call you on the telephone, but it wasn't. I don't know that I've ever texted Kenny. And he died. He passed away. We were in Madison when he died and that was 2018, I think, 2018 or 19. And I don't think he would text you then. I don't even know if he still had. I think he still had a flip phone. I mean, he just was not gonna weaken on that one.
Yeah, wasn't gonna conform. But it's funny is it seems way more people would just go and visit each other. Where now you're oh, I'll just text him. I ain't going to the neighbor's house.
Nowadays, you just FaceTime.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, exactly. But with every good thing, there's always some snag to it. It's we couldn't do this without the technology. So because. So I don't know. There's always give and take. I guess whether you abuse it or how you use it,
No, I'm fine with it. I'm pretty antisocial. I'd be weirded out if my neighbors stopped by all the time.
Oh, I hate I would.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
I always feel like I can never get anything done if somebody comes by.
So Kenny was pretty nice. So he tolerated me and my brother coming over all the time, and we would. Looking back at it now, if my neighbor's kids came over as much as I came over to his house, I'd be done beat the hell out of them. We drove a dune buggy through his house one time on accident. Yeah, so they used to. Honda made this thing called a Odyssey. It was the
an
first
Odyssey.
Yeah, Odyssey. It had 250.
We had one of them.
Yeah. So me and Cam were working on it. In between the houses, there was a workshop, and we were working on it. And well, Dad had rebuilt the carburetor, and he put it back in. Well, the jet was sitting on top of the idle screw, so we finally got that thing to bust off. Well, it was just pinned wide open.
Yeah.
Right, I rode it right into the downstairs part of Kenny's house.
Oh shit!
So I don't know. Kenny was a godsend. That's all I can say.
I was gonna say, Kenny sounded like a guy. He probably wasn't even that pissed.
Oh, he didn't care. He laughed. He was just laughing. He said, "Who was driving it?" I was like, I'm crying. I'm like, "It was me. Don't be pissed."
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a good one.
Yeah.
No, man. If my neighbor's kids rode an Odyssey through my house,
my wife would kill him. Can you imagine Allison? That hot-headed woman would be done beat every child alive. She'd beat them to death if they drove that.
Is she hot? I've always seen her be super nice, but
she's
everybody's got everybody.
Actually,
she is a horse trainer, so like
she's high strung. She's female version of me. Like she's just.
I remember in Connecticut, like 2020 or 2019. She was holding the horse on the end, and out of nowhere it spooked, and it was just doing laps and circles in there, and then she was just giving it to it,
Oh yeah, she'll stay right there with you. If she's one of those, she's one of the few trainers. If she says she's got a hold of it, you can feel safe to get under there. She's gonna ride it. She'll tell you to get out of the way.
She was probably the right person to be holding that horse.
I remember that. That horse was rough. I thought that one was gonna take down the side of the tent.
Yeah,
because it was just, you're right, it was just doing circles in there.
Yeah.
Knock on wood that none of those horses hit those poles. Like,
Craig's anxiety level on shoeing day is through the roof. Because I even get nervous, and it's not my contest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's crazy. It's a lot going on.
Oh, it is. It's just crazy. It's better with the semi now, but like, do y'all remember when it was a tent? Like, it just used to be a tent.
I've only been under the tent
before
once.
my day.
Yeah, no. So I mean, it just used to be a tent when it first started. He would show up with I remember it was like a U-Haul looking thing, and we unrolled this huge ass tent, and it had like the big circus spears in the middle of it. It was massive.
Yeah, it was yellow and white.
Yep, that yellow and white
stripes.
Tent. Yep.
Glittered with coke dust.
Oh.
Just like not all the forges were just vented underneath the tent.
Oh yeah, that was healthy, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was a good time. So how long have you been competing now, then, Daniel?
Since 2006. As soon as I started, I worked with Russell Colvin. He would say he taught me to forge, and that's when Philip Box was going up there. So me and Philip would actually meet in Wetumpka and ride up to Russell's every Friday in Birmingham and spend all day learning to forge. Philip was a little ahead of me by a few months, but we pretty much learned everything together, whether it's tool making or shoe building stuff. And so Russell used to give me these like homework. I was always wanting to do more, so he would just tell me to do something at the house. So, either make circles or the diamonds and different things with keg shoes. And then the last thing he had me do was take all these old shoes and turn them inside out and get it to where you could do it in 2 heats. And so once I did that, and I mean, he couldn't really tell that I had messed with him. So he was like, all right. So he said I needed to go down and see Billy Lewis, which I don't know how well y'all know him.
I've only met him one time, but I've heard a bunch of stories.
Does he still do the old class at convention?
He won it this year.
Yeah, I've seen him around, but I've never personally met him before.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He's just Billy. I mean,
yeah,
he kind of does his own thing. Some people say he's gruff or grumpy, but I mean it's just him. But so I went down and started working with him, and my brother had worked with him for a little while, and I just never went down there to work for him. And so probably Billy took me to my first competition. So I went and got certified, and he helped me. I went and watched. I asked him could I pay him to watch him shoe a foot for the certification, because I didn't really understand what the AFA was looking for. So he did that, and then I passed that certification, and So after that, it kind of opened the door, and he was like, well, come down to the house. And then so he didn't want to mess with keg shoes, so he never let me do like Division I. I had to go into Division II for the plane stamps and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so my first competition was in the Texas contest in 06 with Milster judging it. And then I did it. And then the next week we did Alabama. And then I went, like a week and a half later, we did Georgia. And then my fourth competition was well, that might have been 05, because 06 is the Albuquerque convention was my fourth contest, and I entered the convention.
Oh, damn.
Oh, man.
Well, that's what Billy was practicing for, so that's kind of what I was just monkey see, monkey do type deal, you know?
Yeah.
So
now, were you having any success with these competitions, or like how were they going?
Yeah, I won the Texas one, I won the Alabama one, and I was second at the Georgia one.
Nice.
And then I was 21st. Back then you had the qualifier class, and I was 21st to qualify for the shoeing at the deal. But I practiced a lot. I mean, a lot.
I was just about to ask, did you prep a lot?
Yeah, 5, 6, 7 hours a day. I'd get up and practice before work, go shoe horses, come home, practice again, sleep a little bit, and then just 7 days a week. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, that's what it takes.
Well, yeah, and you were getting like a little bit of success there, so it was like probably something to fuel the fire, huh? Like
yeah. I mean, it was cool, and it's kind of like golf. You're never going to master it, so there's always something to keep pushing for.
No, and you guys are in like just right there. You saying that you have like Russell Colvin and then Billy to learn from, and hanging out with Phillip and stuff. Like that's a pretty good crowd.
Yeah, I mean,
man, like
the knowledge. I mean, that's like blacksmith and like tool making and stuff. I'm pretty savvy. I know how to do a lot of it. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
Like Phillip took a liking to it. Like Phillip makes Glenn Reese, he learned to make tongs with me. And I mean, we were all there in the same group making them. But everybody kind of got their niche. I could, if I want to make a pair of tongs or something, I can go out there and build whatever I feel like. I just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I would rather just buy a pair from y'all.
I don't even want to make tongs half the time anymore.
Like I've got tools. I've got some of Glenn's first tongs out in the shop. I've got sledgehammers that me and Russell have made and stuff like that. But
that's one of my favorite dudes. Russell is such
he's a trip.
He's cool. He's cool, and he's super handy.
Oh, he is handy. Building roses.
He came and did a little clinic at my house with me, and like building hammers and axes.
Oh yeah.
And he just like right away he showed me. He's like, "Well, you know, it's going okay." I'm like, "This is going better than okay." Like you're doing. I think you're undermining yourself a little bit here.
He's so humble, but he's so talented. Oh, he's so talented. I've seen him build. He would have projects like when I was learning and going up there. I'll never forget. He was doing. It was some kind of. He does these big fire grates, like these huge fireplaces in these real big mansions. He does the grates, the big screens in front of them. And these things it'll look like a grapevine laid with bundles and clusters of grapes on it and all this. And I don't remember what he was building, but I showed up at Friday morning. He had these like 3x3 1/4-inch plates laying on the concrete, and there's a jackhammer laying on the ground. And he's like, well, that didn't work. So he's like, if you can help me, we'll just build this thing. And so he takes these ball bearings and builds these 2 dies for the power hammer. And we get the coke fire out, and we hold this plate, and we'd heat up one spot, and we'd go to the power hammer, and he's trying to texture this thing.
3 foot by 3 foot plate.
1/4-inch plate, like a plate.
Fuck, that's heavy, dude.
And so we got it done, but I was like, but it's just like nothing to him. He's just like, oh, well, we're going to build a rose today. And it's not like me building a rose. It looks like you took a bloomed rose and dipped it in liquid metal, and then there's his rose.
Yeah.
It's insane what he can do.
Smart, because he's not he's not under a dangerous horse.
Oh yeah.
he's in his controlled shop, people working for him,
running jackhammers on steel.
And
exactly.
He's a phenomenal horseshoer. Because I think it was something, his back was messed up or something, and it was pretty much one of those you can either shoe horses or you can walk type deal. That's why he started the forge, Iron Mountain Forge and all that stuff. He had a Farrier supply shop. That's where we would go. But I mean, like, if you ever need any questions on how to shoe a horse, just call him. He's pretty handy with that.
Yeah.
Well, in like a roundabout way, like, hey, we owe Russell for Iron Mountain Flux.
Oh,
like he is the reason we all get our welds to stick. Like, and on top, like, he's a roundabout way of Troy Woods, because the guy that apprenticed under Russell is the guy that Troy apprenticed under. This guy is Stephen Ritchie.
Oh, Stephen. Okay, yeah. I didn't know that.
So a lot of the fundamentals that Russell taught Steve taught Troy, and that's kind of where, like, Troy has these solid ass basics, you know.
I didn't know that, but that makes sense. And you're right. It's just it's all passed down from one guy to the other. That's why I try to, I do a lot with the certification stuff, and that's why it's like none of these guys that I've ever went to their house or asked for help ever charged me. They just helped me. So that's how I've always tried to give back, was just with a certification, because it's kind of like if you catch them early, maybe they won't learn. Like, I had a lot, and I still have a lot of bad habits from 10 years of just being on my own cold shoeing.
Cold banging.
Yeah. I mean, I still fight stuff old habits like that.
What type of things?
Just even the way you shape working the horn and stuff. Like, I struggle working on the horn. Like, I mean, working the horn of an anvil is probably the hardest thing you do anyway. But it's really hard for me because I just get aggravated because I just want to use it like a fulcrum point. You know what I mean? Like, instead of a die. And it's every friggin' day.
Which is hard to believe, with as well as you've done, and like,
you can ask them guys. I fix a lot of shit in the vise. I've tried, and I'm so excited for this team. I mean, I'm ready for
I'm excited for you guys.
I'm ready for the ass chewings that's coming. But I've already tried to warn Tom. I'm like, all right, buddy, here's what I want to learn.
That's sweet.
No, it's like, so it has to be a very exciting thing right now, is that, like, this is one of the best AFA teams that have been put together in a while. Like, you've been on the team, so I'm not trying to, like, downplay the other AFA teams, but it's like, just this gathering, right, is a force.
Yeah, it's the best team we've had together in a long time. I mean, you'd have to get on back in when Craig and Austin and them guys were there before, just for the total amount of talent. I mean, there's no rookies on the team.
They're saying years of experience.
Right. I'm the only guy that's not a national champion that's on there.
Yeah.
I mean, Bodie, Money, and Tom are all national champions, and Tom and Money have won the WCB National. So, I mean, I guess I would be I'm the low man on the totem pole, so I feel pretty good.
Does it make you nervous at all?
Oh,
that, like,
yeah.
Hopefully you don't fuck up or something, and hopefully you can live up to the expectations.
Yeah, well, I think we all put expectations on ourselves. Like, I mean, everybody on this team expects this team to do good, so, And I mean, I know I'm the weakest guy as far as the forging and stuff like that, so it's just but
you gotta have like a little bit of I don't think you're the type of guy, but like a little bit of a high to ride that you're also the only guy on the team with the best shod foot from Stoneleigh.
Yeah. I mean,
that's not something to downplay.
You're one of them optimistic people, Riley.
I mean, that's the goal, right? Like, Stoneleigh's
the goal.
Stoneleigh's the goal. So it's like,
that is the goal.
If we're gonna like say like things that are mattering, a best shod foot Stoneleigh is a pretty good token to have in your back pocket. Like, it's not a bad one to have on the card.
You just got to hold that one in case you're getting a bad ass chewing. You can pull that one,
When they're going at you, like, hey, how many best shots have you got at Stone?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's like at the convention. I got fortunate enough to have the best trim score out of the group.
Oh, nice.
And so I already threw that card. I was like, don't worry, boys. I'll get you set on them trims. It's like I won't get many jabs at them, so I'll just take them as I get them,
Yeah.
I'm excited for it because I don't think there's many jabs to give on the teams. Like some teams you hear of like getting put together, you're like, I wonder how this is gonna work out, But like your guys' team, I was like, this is gonna drive forward so quickly. Like it is 4 dudes without egos whatsoever.
That's why we're all excited, is because me and Money and me and Tom have never been on a team together, but we've always talked about wanting to do a team together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we're super excited about that. And me and Bodie were on the AFT in 19 together, so I mean that's gonna fall right in. And Bodie's a great teammate, so the other guys, it's just a matter of the first practice is just kind of, I don't know, your first practice is always kind of just feeling everybody out and getting the flow of everything. But it's different because there's not a lot of teams you get together and there's somebody that's never been on a team or been on a, you've got some rookie that just doesn't know anything. And so you don't have that. So I'll be curious to see how it plays out.
So you think like the first practice you guys do together, like, are you guys going to just automatically, like, just jump in and, like, try to shoe a horse and then, like, try to figure out who belongs where?
Well, see, that's the cool thing about this team. Like, so we already have our group text, and we've already got practices set up for December, January, February. All the tickets are bought, all that's set. The phone calls have been made. Like, everybody's, we're going to put this guy, we're going to try this guy at anchor, this guy at 3-hole, this guy's the lead off, this guy's 2. If this doesn't work, we'll flip-flop these 2 guys. I mean, it's pretty easy to, because everybody's been in every position, so you can kind of, and those 3 have already been together for a year on the, Men of Stale. So all I'm doing is filling in the left foot, like where Osborne was in there.
I was going to ask if they kept their same feet.
Yeah, because I've done the left hind on the classic and all that stuff for years, or the left. So now
front. You're going to the front.
Yeah, left front. I was only on the hind end because of the way the team was working that I was on.
Do you like doing the front more than you like the hinds?
I like fronts better, yes, but I do like the right hind.
Yeah,
the right hind and the left front are my 2 favorites.
Yeah, I mean, I hate fronts. They're not my favorite at all.
Yeah, same.
But I'm not very good, so that's how that works. Do you guys think? Are you expecting any surprises at all right now, or is there anything up in the air? But it is a pretty figured out thing. Like you guys have already, like you said, you're kind of just sewing right in there.
I think it'll just be just a matter of, I mean, we're flying out in the morning. We'll probably build shoes tomorrow afternoon and sort some of that out. And then there's horses coming in on Friday and Saturday. So, I mean, best way to figure it out is just start shoeing horses.
Just got to do it.
Yeah, no, I think you guys are going to do awesome. Like it is a great mix of people there. So it worked out really well.
Yeah.
Was it, when you were getting ready for packing up today, did it already feel different than the last time you were packing to go to a team practice?
Oh yeah, I was a little bit more nervous. I guess more excited. I'm excited for this team. It's gonna be fun. I'm really looking forward to doing it. So that's
I bet.
I mean,
so do you still have a bunch of other things planned for the year, like clinics and everything?
I've got to judge the South Carolina contest in February, and then I'm sure there'll be a few other clinics and stuff here and there.
Because I might be wrong here, but you won Clinician of the Year, didn't you? Was it last year?
A couple of years ago, I won the Clinician of the I think that's the Jim Lindsay.
Yep.
For the AFA, yeah.
Yeah, AFA. Jim Lindsay, I got that. That was a pretty big honor. So.
Yeah, that's pretty dang sweet.
Oh, that's huge. So it's in like people, like I've had people ask me, and I'm sure you've had people ask you, Daniel, of like, how do you become a clinician? Which is just like kind of a funny question. You know what I mean? It's like, because like even asking you, like, do you remember how it happened, or just all of a sudden you're doing clinics?
Yeah, I mean, you just start kind of having a little success. And Billy Lampley in Tennessee was the first guy that paid me to do a clinic. And he was just a Saturday clinic, and he was just kind of he likes to get a lot of the younger up and comers, or he used to. I don't know if he still does it or not, but you would just get like $500 and you come up to his house and do a Saturday clinic, and then that way you kind of got used to being in front of people and stuff. And it was kind of like his local group. So there's maybe 6-7 guys, and they were all friends anyway. So it wasn't, you didn't have like, I mean, I know y'all have done clinics. So, I mean, there's always that one prick in the group that wants to try to battle back against you. There was none of that. Like, you got to just learn to teach a little bit. And then,
that's cool.
And then it just went on from there. Usually when I made the team for the first time in 2011, that was after that. Once you've made the one of the teams, they're going to call you a decent amount.
Yeah, you start to get recognized a little bit.
Yeah.
Was it? Do you feel like you were a pretty natural clinician, or was it hard to learn how to get a clinic to flow?
No, I don't know. I mean, I've always been pretty good at, like, if there's a big group and we need to get stuff done, I can keep stuff on track. So it never really bothered me. It just, being in front of a group doesn't bother me. The only time I've ever got nervous was last year at Amarillo at Craigsdale at the WCB Winter Clinic. Like, I was nervous as hell for that one. And
really?
Yeah, I think it was just because it was just a talk, And
there wasn't necessarily like hands-on, like forging from you.
Yeah, it was just kind of like you're kind of just talking. And I knew I was going to kind of talk about like the difference from when I was drinking as opposed to after and all that stuff. I had that worked into it, so it was just a little bit nerve-wracking. But no, I've had to talk in front of a bunch of different diversified groups, so I'm pretty good about it.
Was the WCB one nervous because it was more your peers, you think?
Yeah,
and you were gonna get personal with them,
right? Exactly. It's not like you go to a chapter or team or a state thing. You're gonna know 4 people, and then you're not gonna know the rest of them. So it's not as much. Whereas at the winter clinic, there's probably a couple hundred people there, and I probably knew 150 of them. So it was just for me, it was a little bit more nerve-wracking at that one.
What did you say your topic was that you were talking about?
At that one, the topic was I'm a firm believer in, like, when I started to do good was when I decided to not be a competition farrier and then a farrier. Like, you actually put your work, everyday work has to come up to the level you want to compete at. So if you want to trim good, you have to sit there and trim good every day on every foot. And if you want to fit, and I've nailed on mainly all handmaids, so the quality of your shoes and everything just has to come up in your everyday work. And if your everyday work is top notch, I mean, and like would score good at a competition, then you're going to score good at a competition, because the first thing you do in the first 10 minutes is revert back to what you were doing the day before you got on the airplane.
Yep.
So I was kind of talking about that and stuff.
No, that's Poor was the first one to tell me that, and he was talking about somebody else. He's like, I rode with this guy for a day, and he's like, within the first like 30 minutes, he's like, this guy was like paying Poor to come out because he was trying to get on the team, and he's like, I told him right away, he's like, well, you're never gonna make it. You're not a believer. Like, you got to be a believer. This can't just be something you just kind of turn on every once in a while. Like, this just has to be you, like, completely. Like, and so is that like how you do that in your everyday work right now? Then I'm assuming because it's like, so it's just never I'm sure that lays to why you got best shot foot.
Yeah, I mean I've got a good backing. Like, I mean, I've got a bunch of guys I send pictures to, and I get a lot of feedback. But yeah, I mean, I just finally quit drinking in 17, and then decided in 18 I wanted to go try to make the team again, sober and all that stuff, and try, because I couldn't remember a lot of it, like from being on the teams and stuff. Like, I can't remember a lot of the competition. I mean, guys will talk to me and tell me about what crazy stuff we were doing, but I really can't remember a lot of it for some reason. And but so when I did that, the only way for me to get back to the level y'all were at from my couple of years off was, I mean, I just needed more practice. So then it might have been Jim Poor, but it was Craig, and a lot of those guys were like, your everyday work has to get better. And so that's what we did. So, but yeah.
So you had a pretty good gap in there of like, because you've kind of brushed on it before with me, so it's like you did have to just come completely a life change then of like.
Yeah, it was a pretty good life change. If you knew me before and you know me now, it was a big life change.
I just know this Daniel.
Yeah, you're lucky.
Driving Odysseys through houses. You know?
Well, that was 7, so I mean that's just the start of it. You should have seen where I've driven trucks through.
Oh, yeah, that sounds pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, and I'd change a lot of stuff, but I mean, I think everything you do in your past makes you who you are today. So
that's right. You know, everything happens for a reason.
Right.
Essentially.
So just shit is what it is. I got all that behind me, so now I don't drink, I don't smoke, and I smoke cigars and dip snuff and drink coffee. So that's my vices.
Yeah, those aren't too bad ones. Yeah. I think if a lot of us sat down and like just told people of our past in some way or form, there would be some surprises in there for everybody, right? If like you wouldn't guess that person would have ever done that, but it's just the way. Like, I think you're exactly right. It's that path led you to where you are now, and it's like. I grew up with an alcoholic dad that now he doesn't drink as much, so it is kind of like he does the same things of like he's trying to or like do these things again to like and remember them and have them like
have them be a memory.
Yeah. So I think that's freaking awesome that you gave it another bat, and it's like it's almost like another lease on life. I know that's like a cliched thing to say, but it's like you get to see it through different goggles though.
Yeah, and it really is. I mean, it is a little bit cliche-ish to say it, but yeah, it is what it is. It's just another shot. Because it's like, I get aggravated with myself sometimes because it'll be shit, like at a practice or something, there'll be stuff that I probably am expected to know, and I know I've been shown it a bunch of times, but I just fucking cannot remember it. Like, I can even, like, know I've been somewhere that I was taught that, and I just cannot remember it. And so then I have to just friggin' learn it again. And a lot of stuff I try to just be quiet and watch, and then try to sneak through there and get to the house so I can practice it again.
Yeah. That's funny. Did it? Well, it's probably not too funny to you. It's at least like you're aware of it, right?
Well, yeah. Like, I mean, it's funny. It is comical because, like, I mean, even Allison would be like, "Haven't you seen that before?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, shit, did." Probably threw a bottle of friggin' whiskey too.
Did it kind of happen did all of a sudden did you realize like, man, I'm drinking a shit ton?
No, I mean, it just kind of. I mean, I knew I drank a lot, but I didn't know I was that bad until the judge and the lawyer and my wife told me I was that bad, and then I was like, "Oh, okay." And then they told me I wasn't going to drink anymore or I'd be in jail and I'd be divorced. And so I was like, well, shit, let's just try this not drinking deal.
Yeah. Like, this doesn't sound that horrible.
Yeah, sitting in jail that many years does not sound fun. I can be sober.
Yeah, now you've had X amount of years on the team and, it's doing well.
Yeah. That's like, so like now looking back, like, are you, can't say that you're happy it happened. But it's like, it did, like, that is the course that happened, and like, do you think that it taught you some better lessons?
Yeah, it did. I mean, I think with my personality, it just had to, like, you had to hit rock bottom and be like, you're either going to lose everything, and I mean everything, freedom and all of it, for me to be the type of person that was like, okay, well, that was fun. Let's move on to another chapter of life then. And I'm not one that can be like, well, I haven't had anything to drink in 5 years, so I can take a sip of one. Like, that's not my personality. It's like, I don't touch it.
Yeah.
All in or all out.
Yeah, and I had a great, Hank Chisholm, Allison, I mean, all my friends. I mean, even to this day, so I'll drink like O'Doul's or the little non-alcoholic beers, because I think for me, it seems like if I'm in a big group, I just found that they almost are more comfortable if I have something like that in my hand. You know what I mean? It's like they don't, society doesn't like that oddball, so it's not as weird. So I'll drink those from here and there, but even those, I've had a bunch of guys come up and grab my hand and snatch it out of my hand and be like, "What are you drinking?" I'm like, hoppy
thinking
water,
it's
really.
a beer. Yeah, thinking it's an alcoholic beer, and they're like, "Stop!"
I tried to get drunk on them, you can't. So
I've got a friend, he drinks the O'Doul's as well, and he's like, "Yeah, I've tried drinking a fuckload of them, but still don't get no buzz."
I know what he did. You just have to just be alone.
But it is too. It's like we got a shitty like. The horseshoeing community is good, but in the sense of like things like that, it's bad. That it isn't good about like, hey, let's support this dude and not fucking get drunk. You know what I mean? Of like, a team probably will be, but it's like if you go to a convention and all the guys are at the bar, like it's a fucking masculine bunch of fucks a bunch of times. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like
if you're in the bar, everyone's already drunk anyway.
They're
so
drunk anyway. I go belly right up there in the middle of them. They don't even realize, I just laugh more. But I never wanted, so like every Monday night is date night from the time me and Allison, because I mean, Allison's my fourth wife, right? So, I mean, I'm a slow learner about everything in life, but like by the time I got to that point, I was like, I think I got this figured out. So I told her, I said, every Monday night, because I traveled a lot, Monday night's going to be date night. No matter what, we're going to date night. And we do. For 12 years, we've been married 10 years, together 12. Every Monday night, we're going to dinner. Now we can do it, we can be pissed off, we don't have to talk, we don't have to even look at each other, but we're going to dinner together. And we've done that before.
That's a commitment.
Like, get ready, go to dinner, come home, go to bed, not a damn word spoken. Most of the time, most of the time though, in the middle of dinner, you'll start talking about something, a stupid client or something like that, because she's in the horse industry too, so you can always pick on a dumb client. But yeah, so I didn't want that to change, and all of our favorite places where we would go sit at a bar at all these nice restaurants around town and stuff. So I just told all the bartenders, I'm not drinking, so no matter what the hell I say, you don't serve me ever again. Just bring me coffee or bring me a Coke or something like that. And so they were all cool with it, so I couldn't order a drink in my hometown probably if I wanted to. Like, they'll bring me
some strength.
coffee and they'll bring you coffee
Take some strength. Shut up. For you to tell them, not to serve you that, because like it could have been just as easy as you not to say something and like, just fall back into it.
Well, I needed all the help I could get, so because I knew if I fell back into it, I was going to go to jail and I was going to lose everything. It was just it was that bad, so there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So it was like
it's the way it had to be.
We're going to do, that's the way it was going to be. It's the way it still is, and it's the way it's going to be. So. But it doesn't bother me at all. Like, if we go to the WCBs or conventions or wherever, I could go to a frat party right now and just be the only sober guy in there.
At least we got a driver.
That's me. I'm the DD. The team guys love it. They get drunk. I tell them, shut up, give me the keys, and let's go get in the truck.
Hell yeah.
No, and horseshoeing competitions are a big enough, release as they are of like just going out and practicing. It can be pretty relaxing in a weird roundabout way.
Yeah, it is. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like you got to have something to kind of blow off a little bit of steam.
Yeah.
So do you have any other hobbies outside of like competing?
No, I mean I like fishing. I mean I used to do a lot of bass fishing and tournaments and stuff like that. Probably whenever I get done competing, I'll probably get into offshore fishing. Since I live down here on the coast, I really want to learn about that.
Is your guys' ocean pretty flat down there? Like where you're going out?
Yeah. So it's the Gulf of Mexico. It's not like where you're at. Like
no.
Calm is 6-8 foot wave over there. Like they won't even take the charter boats out with a 4 foot wave here.
Oh man, yeah, that would be okay.
Yeah, I mean you can go out in the Gulf on a lot of them. It'd be just glass, or just like a little 1 to 2 foot swell just rolling in.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Here it is like constant rolls, and you don't want to touch the water. It's ice. Yeah. It's not good at all.
I've seen it. I've seen videos of those guys doing the tuna fishing out there and stuff, and I would probably like to do it once, but that's
what my dad was a commercial crab fisherman growing up. And he ran boats like he ran like an 80-foot boat, steel boat. And I remember being a kid and watching home videos of all the windshields on the boat getting smashed out from waves.
Yeah,
waves completely rolling over the boat. Like it was I never wanted to go. I was instantly like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I say that would probably fix me too. It's like the deadliest catch. You always hear these people, I'd love to go try that. I'm like, it's -10 and they're still out there in the water. I'm never going. I got a blanket on me watching them on the damn television. It's too cold.
Oh yeah, guys would only last one trip with my dad because he'd work them like 20 hours on, 4 or 5 off, and 20 hours back on. It was just
those are some tough men. My dad did. I think he got back out of the Second World War out of the Navy from the Philippines, and then he did commercial fishing or shrimping in the Gulf and stuff. He had 4 or 5 boats, and they would work a lot, but it's not the same thing. There's not. I mean, a hurricane might come in the Gulf, and they're going to go run up the Mississippi River and anchor off and drink beer until it blows through. Then they're going to go back out. It's just, it's not these 30, 40-foot waves and ice and all that stuff.
I would hate to almost make the connection, but it's kind of funny that he almost did what Forrest Gump did.
Yeah, he did.
He went to war and he came home and got a shrimp boat.
That's exactly right. And I can run fast too.
I love that movie.
Well, the guy that wrote the book lives about 5 miles from here. The man that wrote the book lives in Fairhope, Alabama. He's just an older gentleman that wrote that book, and then they made the movie out of it.
He's probably loaded.
Couldn't only imagine. There's nothing but this is like one of the biggest retirement areas.
If not, he had a bad agent.
Yeah, Fairhope's one of the biggest retirement areas for millionaires and billionaires. I mean, they're just everywhere down there. Like there's a Lamborghini that I pass every morning at the 4-way stop out by 4 cotton fields. There's a Lambo just comes through, just takes off.
Damn.
So is that a lot of the people you're working for? Is like rich people?
Some of them. A lot of the English ones, but I do a lot of like lesson barns. They're not really. They're barrel racing barns, but they're not. Like they just kind of do riding lessons. But some of them in there do the little speed days. I don't know what you would call them.
Gaming days.
Yeah, some of them
play the games.
I used to do a lot of polo horses, and I just got tired of dealing with them things.
Is polo pretty popular around there?
Yeah, there's about 6-7 fields down here, but it's just hard because like they're all out of town now. But then they'll come back in town. What is it? It's December, so they'll be back. They used to go. They're up in Sheridan now. Then they're going to come back middle of February, and there's 150, 200 head of horses are going to show up at the same weekend, and they're going to want them all shot that week.
Yeah.
And it's just hard. You try to kill yourself, and I did it for a few years, but you would just kill yourself trying to do shitty work for somebody that just wants to pay you nickel and dime you the whole time. And I'm like, you're a billionaire. You flew in on a Gulf Stream, and you want to bitch at me about a shoeing bill. No thank you.
Yeah, but he's got 15 Argentinian players on his bill and 150 horses. So
still a billionaire. Still a billionaire. I didn't tell him about it.
Yeah. Little billionaire.
It's I try to remember all the time. My uncle built like airplanes for a living, and I was telling him about shoeing horses, and I was feeling bad for this lady. He's like, you gotta remember, they own a fucking horse. You can't really feel too bad for them. Like,
no,
this isn't a needed hobby. Like, it's a.
There's a I mean, it is for an elite. You know, I mean, I know we all shoe for a lot of people that have horses that, you know, but throughout history, it's an elitist sport.
Yeah.
So, you know, I do feel bad for some of them, but most of them, the older I get, the less I feel bad. I could care less. I'll just charge them whatever mood I'm in and go on.
That's perfect.
Yeah, the older I get, I feel that way as well. You know.
And down here on the coast, we you know, I listen to those guys, like, because we get a lot of the horses to go back and forth over into Florida and stuff, and like, you can shoe them for a decent amount of money, but them boys down in Florida, they just print cash. Those guys, it pisses me off.
It's kind of a crazy deal, like the whole Ocala scene and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot. Holy shit.
Well, there's like, it seems like, I've never been there or anything, but it's like, it seems like there's even Farrier supply houses around there renting out rigs and stuff, like,
yeah,
money to be made.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. The last I heard, this a couple of years ago, there was like 200 shoers right around in the Ocala area. I mean, there's a lot of horses down there.
Holy shit.
It's big, and there's a lot of running horses down there.
Oh, like race horses?
You go down into Wellington and stuff, and that's big money down there.
Yeah, big.
Do you ever go down there and shoot?
Big money.
No, I did years ago. Like, Billy kind of had me hooked up to go down in there. I went down there some, but it was just when me and Allison first met. So we have 4 kids. She has 3, and I have mine, but we raised them all together. But I always told her I'd be home for dinner, so it was just hard. So like when I would run over to Ocala or something, it's 5 hours. I'd leave at like midnight and go get there at daylight and shoe, and then turn around and get home for dinner with the kids. And I did that for a little while, and then I just eventually just kind of said this is stupid and gathered everything up within close to the house. So
yeah, it's smart. Perfect. I guess won't burn you out too much, you know, and keep the wife happy.
She's happy, I'm happy.
Exactly.
She's meaner.
So what was it like? What was it like the first year you made the team? Like, how did that feel for you?
So that was 2011. That was with Mike Augustine, Ben Mangum, and Brian Osborne and Jason Bromley. And then it was just a big learning curve. The first time you're on the team is a huge learning curve because I think Ben had went the year before to Stoneleigh, but Mike was I want to say it was Mike's first year, or maybe both of those guys had been the year before. But it's just the amount of detail that is expected to be for you to look at it's just a huge learning curve.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
so those guys
you
are
make
all...
the team, you're doing good. You're like, man, I can get her. You fit around a foot a little bit and stuff like that. And then they're like, well, you didn't fit it in this place, and this place. So you have to, I don't know, you just have to kind of attention to detail. The devil's in the detail of it.
Yeah. Was it like, were you more nervous being on the team that year versus like coming into like, now this year you have these guys on the team with you? How, you know?
It's probably
your
a little bit
expectations
more.
A little different.
I say your expectations a little bit different. The first year, like in 2011, you were arrogant enough to kind of think, well, you're going to go, you know, show them something. And now I'm smart enough and old enough to know that, all right, I'm going to do my job, shut up, pay attention, and learn what I can learn. You know, and just try not to screw shit up.
Yeah,
because I mean, you can't. If you look at it on paper, I mean, this team. I mean, if you Chris Madrid, Tom Peterson, and Bodie Turnker. I mean, those are the 3 meanest bulldogs in the pen in the United States right now when it comes to competition. I mean, they're like hands down, they're just the baddest asses in there.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And they all have that little flair to them. Like they just make shit happen out of stuff that you're like, oh well, and they just have the flow. They can see it and they can put it in. Whereas I don't see that. I'm just like, I can be a very solid, steady, average guy, but I don't win that much stuff. I just stay consistent all year long.
You're just consistently like putting in the work. Then it sounds like, because it sounds like you practice your ass off.
Well, I mean, those guys practice. They don't. I mean, I'm not saying they're
I'm not saying that
gifted.
either.
Them guys out practice everybody. They out practice me. Yeah, but I just don't know that my eye will ever be able to, or brain will ever be able to hit the level that next little level that they're on. I hope so. I mean, that's what I'm going to work for. But like they see things that I listen to them talking, even at competitions when I'm listening to Chris look at feet and stuff. I mean, you can just watch that guy and tell he's looking at shit that you don't see. You know.
Yeah.
The same thing with Bodie. When I was on the team with Bodie, and Bodie hadn't quite. He wasn't quite as good as he is now because he was still just right when he was blowing up and coming in hard. But still, even practicing with him, and I've done a lot of horses with him. He can just see shit that I just didn't see.
There's something that kind of makes me wonder is like somebody, coming up is how does that person start to see these things, like, because our little eyes now, you see these things and like you see Craig's pictures that he posts on Facebook or whatever and like you're like, dang, that's pretty dang sick. And then just training your eye, like, I don't know, sometimes I don't see things like that you would see or Riley sees, and like how does somebody go about that, like on just training their eyes? Is it like just exposing yourself to be around these other people to gather that from somebody, or?
Right. I think that's why the WCB has been so extraordinary to our industry over here in the States, is because the only way I've ever been able to learn it is to be on a team or around guys that can see stuff I can't see, but be brave enough to ask them or say, what are you looking at? And then, and you have to kind of trust. So if Craig, when I was on a team with him years ago for Calgary, and Jake Engler and Gene Leeser and those guys, when they told me something was flat, I didn't argue. I just looked down it and tried to tell my brain, this is flat, this is what you're supposed to look for, and then try to replicate it. And then, and over the years, then eventually now I can look down it and I see it. Like when I see it, I see it. And if it's not there, I know it's not there. You know what I mean? So, but even now sometimes, and I think everybody, like you might, some days you have good days, some days you have bad days. But like some days you're like, I know it's not there, but I can't see where it's off. So that's why being on teams is important, because you're hoping the guy that's spotting for you sees it and he's like, it's right there. And you're like, oh, okay, it is right there. But I think you have to get with somebody skilled enough to do it so you can actually see what you're trying to achieve.
So
for me, anyhow, that's how I can.
So on a team where, if you've been on a team where the guys are like least experienced, as like this is kind of like their first year being on a team, like how do they go about, figuring out where somebody needs to be on like that portion of the horse? How do you guys determine, this is what you should be doing?
You talk about like where at, like on what foot or like what hole, like whether the lead off or the anchor or just all of it?
Actually, both, really.
Just all
both, really.
Well, so you got the 4 spots. You have a lead off, a number 2 guy, number 3 guy, and then the anchor. Personality usually will determine the anchor, because some guys just don't want that pressure. They don't want to have the bottom of the clock. You're left with what you're left with, and you have to make something happen. And so, like, that guy's not your anchor. He's probably a 2 or a 3 hole. The leadoff guy has to be consistent. He just has to be willing to look at the clock and say, okay, at this timeline, I've got to hand it into the judge. It is what it is. I did the best I could, and he has to be able to hold, your high 8, low 9 average. The 2-3 guys are the guys, that's your points builders. Those are the guys that if you give them that extra couple minutes or a few minutes, they're gonna get you the high 9, good 9 average and stuff. So you just have to do enough horses with the guys to figure out. So some guys might want to be an anchor and they think it's cool, but are they doing shit work because they're rushing through it? So if you put him in a 3 spot, you just have to move them around, and then wherever they do their best work, that's what they are.
Yeah. So usually number 1 and number 4, they're going to be kind of like the most rushed out of the team, I guess. So if they can do good work fastest.
The number 4 just has to trust the team the most because he's putting his go in the other 3 guys. So I mean,
yeah, hopefully they left him with enough.
He's got as much time as anybody. It's just as long as nothing happened and everybody's slowed down. The number 1 guy's the only guy that kind of has you have to get off of here at the halfway point kind of. And he's just having a 1 hour go. If you think about being a leadoff and you just tell yourself don't look at the clock except for you're having kind of a 1 hour go, at 1 hour or so you want to pretty much try to hand it to the judge, but your leadoff should have the best finish score of the group because he gets the most time. He gets a whole nother hour to sit there and spot feet and nail up, pull nails, redrive, stuff like that.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, he might have low scores on other things because he's trying to get out of the way, but his finish score should be the best.
I see.
He gets the most time to nail and finish.
That makes a lot of sense. And so, do you think that that leads into the guy in the first spot too? Is that maybe he should be the guy that struggles with nailing and finishing the most?
I mean, I guess you could. I mean, I've never thought of it that way, but usually if I was on the team and I was getting to pick, then I would put the guy in the front that would just give me the same run over and over and over and over and over. He doesn't want to be running up somebody's butt or waiting for the vice. He gets aggravated if his rhythm gets messed up. I just put a guy up there that just goes.
Yeah.
I might have just learned something about myself.
Yeah, some guys don't.
You were the first thing I thought about.
I was like, I might need to go first.
Yeah, because you just have a 1 hour go. You put it in your head to go first and just go. You don't wait on the vice. You don't get aggravated with nobody, and you just you kind of need to know when to just call it good. Right. It is what it is. The clock determines what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. No. That makes a lot of sense because I think that's a hard thing. Like we've had that problem with our team is we're all a bunch of learning guys. We're not where you guys are, and so we'll get lost in the hot rasping. It's easy to be. You're like, well, I'm making my shoes in 4 heats. But then we spend freaking 15 minutes in the vice, and that can really get to the clock pretty quickly.
That vice will suck a clock down pretty quick. So the leadoff guy just has to be able to look up at the clock and say. Say you struggle fitting because you're going to trim for 10 minutes, 12 minutes, and then you're going to build your shoe in 5-6 heats, right? So you're going to the foot. Say you should be, say, 3 max trips to the foot on. That's what you're hoping for. I mean, everybody's like, well, I'm going to go once. Well, realistically, you're going to go because after you brush it and filed it and brushed it, you're going back to do your final trip. So that's 1. So 2 trips in. You should be wanting to get to the vice for the most part. So then you just have to be able to look at the clock. So if you have 25 minutes left in your hour, then you get to file for a while. If you only have 10 minutes left in your hour, then you don't get to knock your edges off and brush the hell out of it and hand in a hammer finish shoe, because if not, you're going to take away so many points from your other 3 guys that still have to get in the vice. It's just mathematics. It's just adding the points, a 10th here, a 10th there, a 10th there.
That's the hardest part, isn't it?
Oh, it sucks. It's nothing worse than being a leadoff guy and being like, you screwed up because you didn't fit it, or you built a piece of shit shoe, and knowing that you just screwed your team and you screwed yourself because you got to turn it in, and you want to fix it, and you have the ability to fix it, but you don't have the time to fix it. Because if you're selfish and take that time, you're going to screw the whole team out of 3 or 4 more points that those boys who didn't screw up could have got you.
Yeah, that's hard. It's hard though to like. It's hard to accept that you did it, and now that you're gonna have to take the hit, and now you're like, all right, well, come help me mop up I shit the bed. Come help me clean my comforter.
Look at the number, the anchor, because he's usually helping the first 3, and the anchor is usually somebody that can help. You know, the weak guy, whoever's the weakest in the first 3, that anchor guy is helping strike and kind of watch him. And then when your leadoff guy gets nailed up, he takes over watching that guy. Like, so say maybe the 3 hole or whatever. And it depends on the team. Like, so this team here, you know, I don't know. It's just kind of everybody do you, and if you need help, we'll help you type deal.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. But everybody knows what needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I know Bodie and Money will spot for each other's flat and that kind of stuff. But, I mean, for the most part, nobody on this team really needs their hand held for the most part. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that like it'd be hard. It's hard to like. I think it's interesting too. Is like when you go to like a clinic and you watch a team do a clinic. You know, you'll watch like the AFT or the WCB team or do a clinic, and it's like. It's great watching you guys, and like I enjoy watching you guys, but I don't think the person that's just starting out on a team event is like getting too much for it, because like there's things happening, and you guys are gonna have a different way of doing things than any other team should be doing them, right? Yeah. Because you don't need that help.
Yeah, and so I mean, and like I said, I mean, none of us. Well, I can't speak for them, but I know for me, I've never been on a team that's talented, so I don't know. I hope it goes as good as my brain says it's going to go. You know what I mean? Like, this team should have plenty of time. I don't know. I'll tell you on Monday, I guess.
Well, the reason I was just
Monday after the first practice, I come in black eyes and stuff, and be like, it did not go like we thought it would.
It did not go well. Yeah, the reason I was just asking is like, if somebody else out there is like, wanting to get into like going to the 4-man team contest and like they're trying to figure it out, like where should we be? How do we figure this out? And then also these guys they have their team that they're doing, and then Troy's going to be off of it, and then I'm going to be the new person on it with them. So it's just kind of curious for
like
myself
if you're just
as well.
Filling in a spot, I would try to just fill that spot. Like, so wherever Troy was at, I would try to just do that, because the other 3 guys will be the most comfortable staying where they're at.
Yep.
Unless it's just something that's just not going to work,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're like, it's a little weird too, because it's like, it's not that we're afraid that it's not going to work, but it's just like, so like on our team of like, we have Jesse is on the other hind end, right?
Yeah.
And Jesse
Wilson.
Jesse Wilson.
Yeah.
And Jesse is super handy, but he just hasn't made a ton of roadsters for feet, or cocks and wedge. And it's like, well, Gavin's made a bunch of roadsters for feet, but like that's not the foot that's empty right now. So it's kind of like, well, what should we do here to try to like make our team go the best it can? But it's like, Jesse could we have time, right? Like we have practice time. So we could pick it up, but it's like this next team competition it's a jump up. Like we're all of a sudden there's heels on everything.
Me and Bodie were talking this afternoon, just shooting a bull on the way home from work, and that's what me and him were talking about, the same thing. Like this is the classic is back, and like it's been pretty lackadaisical. I mean,
yeah.
I love team competitions. I love 4-man team competitions more than I do anything. I'd rather do that than any individual class.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down. You learn more. It's just more fun, and I just love it. But that's what we were talking about. Like a lot of these teams have never put the jewelry on the back end of these horses. And even like bevels. Bevels are one of the hardest shoes to try to fit on a foot. I mean, to fit it right and it to be right, bevels are their own beast right there.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be a big learning curve again. Like I remember when they did the first classic, it was a big learning curve, and so probably the guys that can make nicer roadsters and stuff like that are probably going to have to get shifted to the back end.
Yeah.
You know, or like Jesse's just going to have to, like, I mean, I know Bodie builds roasters every night, like every night.
And he's probably making them 2 patterns or something too, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
Not
he's
just
thinking of
making 'em.
feet. They look like, the pictures look like they would go on a foot. I mean, he's not building a convention roadster that has a pointy toe. I mean, he's building it to look like a foot. But yeah, they'll have to, like, Adam Farr has those river bottom patterns. Yeah,
Yep.
those templates, man. I use those a lot, and we used them a lot getting ready for Stoneleigh. You know, because they were just easy. You could sit there and flip them over to whatever foot it was. And he's got so many different patterns. If you're getting ready for competition or certification or something like that, get those and just start building to where you have your measurements dialed in.
Right.
Because that's the biggest thing, is just being able to pick up a foot. The amount of, like, the first thing on the team is we tell them, know your measurements. So, like, if you were on the AFT, like when Sawyer made it the first year, and I'll just use him because he doesn't care. But, like, the first thing I told him was, like, go home before the first practice, get you a notepad, and you got to be able to tell me for 3/8 by 1, 3/8 3/4, all this, what your measurements are. So the confidence of picking up a foot and knowing if I measure this way and I cut this amount, for me, I will cover that foot.
Yeah.
Well, you're already ahead of probably 75% of the guys in the arena.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because they're like, oh, I hope it covers. Well, no. I mean, you got to know it's going to fit. We're not stretching, we're fitting.
Yeah.
So if Jesse wants to build enough roasters to where he's that comfortable, then tell him to get
It's
after it.
hard. It's hard.
I don't want to do it. I don't. I think I've nailed one caulk and wedge tool and fullered on, and I've nailed one roadster on. Maybe 2. And that was up at Ben's. And then I was like, put me back on the front end.
Back to putting bevels on, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like bevels.
I hate bevels so much. Like, to me, they're hard. They're really, really hard.
Oh, yeah, they suck. But, you know, I think it's funny how some guys, 'cause I think Bodie loves them. I mean, I think he likes doing the hind end with those caulks and wedges and stuff like that. Travis Smith likes them. But, yeah,
I'd rather build roadsters all day compared to making bevels. It's so funny.
I'm not a bevel fan, to be honest, but if we got to do it, I'll do it. You know.
Yeah, I mean, that's me. I'm not saying I won't. You ain't got to like it. You just have to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I would do.
I lost my internet there for a second when I went out because I had to.
We were talking shit about you as soon as you came off the screen.
Yeah.
Well, like, shit must have gotten western outside.
It did.
Because I'm like parked on the side of the road, but it's the side of like a field, like a big field and some timber. And all of a sudden I heard like a big rifle shot, a little way, another big rifle shot. And so I went to go check, and there's like guys going towards this elk, and then just a bunch of handgun shots like over and over again. A lot of pistols going off. So I think it got a little rough out there.
God damn.
You might need to stay in the truck.
Yeah. Things are getting wild out there because it's pitch black. It's not like there's a lot of light out there.
They were hunting my way.
Yeah.
Camera truck.
Can't see it. Just blast.
Just keep shooting at the shapes.
Just keep shooting. You'll hit something.
Oh shit!
But I think it's going to be a big learning curve with the classic coming back for the young teams and stuff. I mean, I think everybody will step right up to the challenge. I'm not worried about that, but I think it'll be a little bit of the first few December and January is probably going to have a bunch of cussing and stuff going on in practices. Between
the masses.
It's already started for us. Yeah. Like it's hard.
That's probably why Craig is bringing in horses now for the winter clinic, so people could probably have goes like that to try and figure it out then.
Yeah, I mean, he's always had the winter clinic. We've always done those tool and fuller goes in there, so And that's what it is, just to kind of give you a shot at it, just another run.
Yeah. Have all your people there to help
that
out.
winter clinic's probably one of like the most underestimated clinics of the year.
Oh,
The thing is just
it's probably the
killer.
it's the most underestimated clinic. Like, that thing should have 2,000 people at it. If anybody, if I don't understand it.
No, it's like if you were gonna decide, like, and I hate to say it was like, if you were gonna decide between going to convention or the winter clinic, you might want to go to the winter clinic because it's gonna be hands on. You're gonna see everything. It's gonna be like very personal clinics going on and demos. Like, I love the winter clinic. It's been great.
I say anytime you can have everybody kind of forced into the room, and they don't leave. You just swap out your clinicians. It's gonna be a good clinic. Like, you're gonna get more out of it.
Well, like even the span they cover, like of the topics, they're all over the place.
I mean, I've been to all of them, I guess, but the only one I could say was the best one was that first one in Houston, that super clinic down there that time. And I think that was in 06 or 07. But since then, I mean, if you think of the lineup he has, I don't know what his lineup is this year, but I mean, from you doing tools or Mr. Tom Willoughby or Jim, all those guys, Chris, I mean, anybody has in there is a big name guy. And like, it goes from the forging, and then you have Chad Chance telling you how to run a successful business. I mean,
and family life.
Right.
Like, I mean, it was like,
I mean, that's as important. Learning how to juggle all of it is the only way you'll figure it out. Because people ask me a lot how I go as long as I've gone. You've got to have a good family life. So, I mean, Al is my biggest fan and biggest supporter, but I mean, it takes us a lot of work to schedule everything out. And you kind of got to, Adam said it the best way I heard him say it was like, you schedule your practices, and then you schedule your, family time and practices, and then you just fit the work in, all your horses in the little holes.
Yeah.
So, it's doable.
No, it's exactly how it has to work.
The only reason somebody doesn't go to the WCBs and compete, or even go to their state chapters and compete, is because they're lazy and they just don't want to put in the work, or they're scared to put their work out and not be as good as they want to tell everybody.
Yeah, Rich. As soon as you realize that no one's turning in the work they want to,
right,
it's pretty freeing. Like, it's not happening for anybody. Like, you literally, like, you'll have Bodie or Money or you or Tom say, like, after a go, like, how did it go? And they'll be like, all right. Like, you're never really like, man, we knocked it out of the park. Like, it is.
Well, I mean, that's like, if you think realistically, like, it really was a great honor to get that best shot foot at Stoneleigh. But, like, in my head, I can tell you everything that was wrong with that foot.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know what I mean? I can tell you everything I did wrong.
Yeah.
And that's all I think about is like, was it really the best shot foot, or was that, that's how my brain works.
But it's easy to look at it with like rose-colored glasses on someone else's foot, huh? Because you'll see another guy's foot and you're like, damn, that's sweet. Like, you don't really see too many holes in it. But then you look at your own, you're like, oh, fuck. So it's like,
I screwed this up, or I screwed that. Yeah. So it's perspective. It's all in the perspective of it.
Yeah, just figure out that's how it works and just go.
I like how you said it. It is freeing to understand that nobody at the competition does exactly what. It's very rare that a guy just has that go. It does happen that some guys are like, and you can see it happen. It's like, that was a go, Like, it just went for, and they win it, and you're like, that was a good run. But it's rare that happens. But
super, super rare, and like it's not a very common thing for guys to just like be that, like I said, it is easier to look at somebody else as a highlight reel and be like, well, they just always have good runs, that's why they're there doing it, and I'm just still making shit. It's like, well, you're going to continue to make shit until you go. Like, it's never going to get any better sitting at home.
You don't know what you have to beat if you're not going and looking at it.
Yep.
And you're not going to get it from a picture. I don't care what anybody. You're not going to learn it on Facebook. You're not going to get it from Craig's videos. Like, those are great tools to have in the toolbox. But unless you actually, there's something about being at a clinic or at a competition in person, the smell, the sound, the feel it, that's when you start learning.
Oh, for sure.
Being present.
Yeah.
Man, Daniel, we've had you on here for a good little chunk now.
Perfect.
And I know you had to wake up early tomorrow, probably, and get heading to Money's, get a whole mental whipping on. You guys fit on each other. Man, it's exciting. Oh, Gavin's got a good question that he's been asking lately.
All right.
Yeah, so who would be... What's that?
It's that mountain thing, isn't it?
Yeah, the mountain thing.
Yeah. Who would be on your Mount Rushmore of top 4 people that you find most influential in your life?
Influential in my life. I would probably say...
Or even look up to, or, whatever. Someone you hold in high regard.
I would probably say my brother... Allison. I like I get a lot from David Goggins.
Yeah.
I just started his new book, just came out yesterday. I started reading
Money had Goggins on there too.
Yeah, I was gonna say who.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that new book I started it today. It's pretty damn good.
I just added that one to my Audibles today.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to crash through it some tomorrow. And then I would probably say...
Tough question.
Yeah, it is a hard question, but I'd probably put Craig in there for the simple fact, like, my whole career, like, once Billy introduced me to him, I mean, that man has put up with my ass asking stupid questions. Just any time I've ever asked him something or texted or called, he's always given me his honest opinion on something. He's never bullshitted me about anything. And that means a lot to me. So I'd probably say Craig.
That's cool.
So
that's cool. Well, we appreciate your time tonight, Daniel. It's been a good, fun conversation, man.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me. I'm humbled to be here. Thank you.
No, man, we appreciate it a bunch. You've been a guy that's always been around through my competition career. And it's like, I think I met you the first time at Poor's Super Clinic when he had that one at his house.
Yeah,
and it's like,
first time I met
just right away, you've been a guy that I've looked up to, and I love what you do. You've always been super kind to me and helped me out a bunch. So I'm glad we were able to talk to you and crack into your head a little bit, man.
Well, it's a pleasure. I appreciate it. Y'all keep up the good work. I love listening to y'all and stuff. But y'all ask good questions and stuff. So I enjoy the layout you do with the cameras and the just conversation, you know.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Yeah,
we appreciate it. We'll probably see you in a few months then.
Yep. For sure. Y'all have a good one.
You too. Good luck at practice.
You too, man.
Thank you, buddy.